Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat, a podcast for all you wine lovers who, if you're like me, just cannot get enough of the good stuff. I'm Johanna Tur, your host, brand ambassador, wine educator, and sommelier. So stick with me as we dive deeper into this ever-evolving, wonderful world of wine. And wherever you are listening to this, cheers to you. Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm excited to tell you about this week's episode. We are talking about wines of the Netherlands, Dutch wines. I have an incredible guest who has been stirring up the wine industry with her spiciness. She is from Holland, so she's going to give us the lowdown on these wines that I think most of you have probably never heard about, right? Now, before we get into the more educational part of the show, I figured seeing as it's just me doing these podcasts now, it's super important that you get to know me that little bit better. Now, I am not an alcoholic. I think it's very important that I express that. But I do drink every day, and that's important. I drink every day so I can keep my palate fresh and I can bring wonderful wines to you guys. But can you imagine my horror? I live in a flat. There are two other flats in this house. Now, in our council, they're terrible. It's almost like they want to highlight alcoholics. Does anybody else live in a borough where you don't get real recycling bins? They literally just give you cheap, tacky, open boxes. Anyone? Or is it just me? So I'm going to name and shame Bromley in Kent right now because this is what they do. So we have 3 plastic open boxes, not even bins, to put our glass into. Now, me and my partner, it's just 2 of us. We bring out our bottles every other day, and we add to the box. And then we add to a box again. By the end of the week, the boxes are filled with just our wines and nobody else. Now, I don't get it. We have a couple with a baby in flat 2. Surely the baby is pushing them to drink, no? And then in the other flat, you have 4 adults. They have no children, so they have no excuse. Plenty of time to drink. So it's just unbelievable. I mean, what are the chances of living in a house with 2 households of teetotalers? So, now me and my partner, we have to kind of sneak out late at night when no one's looking. I mean, they're probably spying on us, but we have to put it in so that we can at least pretend maybe it's the other flat. Am I the only one who does this? So my wine question to you this week is, how many commercial vineyards do you think there are in Holland? And how many hectares of vines are actually planted? I will tell you the answer at the end of the show. But first, I want to tell you about my winery of the week. And keeping with the theme of this podcast, it needs to be a winery from the Netherlands. So I'm probably going to get shot for my absolutely disgusting pronunciation, but here goes. So the winery I chose is Apostelhoeve. Now, Apostelhoeve are the oldest winery and actually one of the largest wineries in the Netherlands. So viticulture dates back in the Netherlands to 1968, but it was actually in the 1970s with Apostelhoeve that kind of started everything again. They have 14 hectares down in the Limburg region. I think I'll talk a little bit later on about the different regions of the Netherlands. And it's all about fresh white grape varieties here. Keep in mind, of course, Holland, if you've ever been, it's not very warm. So in the grape varieties, you can get a Muller-Thurgau, you can get a Riesling, a Pinot Gris, an Auxerrois. And then they do the Apostelhoeve Cuvée 12, but in Roman numerals. And this actually is probably considered their best wine. This is a blend of Muller-Thurgau with Auxerrois and Pinot Gris. And this features in the wine book written by 3 Dutch Master of Wines. It's called The Wine Book, but in Dutch. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. And in this book, it is the top 400 wines under €25 that were tasted blind, and this is the only Dutch wine to make it into this book. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. They've just planted some Viognier, and they make 2 sparkling wines. You can get a Riesling Brut, and you can get an Apostelhoeve Cuvée 12 Brut as well. They have this absolutely beautiful tasting room and they run tours as expected. So when you are in the Netherlands and you've had your time in Amsterdam, then you know to head on down south to the Limburg region and go and check out, for the last time if I pronounce it correctly, Apostelhoeve. Right, well, they'll let me know if I did all right on that one. Now, whilst lockdown has not been fun for, I would assume, almost all of us, what it has done, it has brought the community of wine lovers from all over the world together. I personally run a wine society in my local area. I do private wine parties at people's houses, and all of that has been stopped. So now I consider myself the Zoom queen doing these wine parties, these wine tastings online. And it's surprisingly fun, surprisingly doable. And it's been amazing because I've been able to do it for people that are in other countries, which has been so exciting and is something that is going to continue. Now, this takes me to our guest, India Donisi, who I found through Instagram and is everything but a wine snob. We're going to talk about some of the more fun, silly, ridiculous things that she's done to get you excited about the world of wine. And then she's going to give us that great introduction into the wines of Holland. So let's go and listen to that interview now. Okay, hi India. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having me.
I am super excited for everybody listening. This beautiful lady has helped me through quarantine, through lockdown, with her absolutely entertaining, hilarious, creative, and might I say slightly sexy posts, videos, everything on Instagram. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy. I already forgot about the whole quarantine. I left it behind me, but you're still in there, right?
We're right on the outside, so we will move on from that. Exactly. We're really close back to, whatever the new normality is. So just to introduce you to everybody, first of all, I advise everybody, go onto Instagram and look up Wine Spice Girl. Fantastic name. What is in a name, India? Where did you come up with this name? What is a name?
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short.
Yes.
I wanted to just spice up the wine world. That was my first idea, because when I thought of a niche in between the wine, I was like, what am I going to do? I want to spice it up, be funny, be sexy, be a bit different. So that was the spice. Then, of course, you had the wine, and then I was a girl, and I was like, the Spice Girls also were a bit spicy. Yeah, so I just linked it and mixed it up, and and there it was.
Fab. So actually, you are a little bit of the sixth Spice Girl. So you have Baby Spice, Ginger Spice, and you are Wine Spice.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I'm a bit upset that you've stolen the sixth position, because if I was clever enough, I would have liked to be the sixth Spice Girl.
I bet every girl would have liked to be her, right?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, maybe considering at the time we were, 9, 10, 11 years old, maybe it's not appropriate to want to be the Wine Spice Girl. But for now, new band. Let's discuss this later. Maybe we can recreate. So, India, just for anyone who doesn't know, India's got her wine qualifications in the Netherlands. It's the Dutch Academy, right? For anybody who wants to...
the Dutch Wine Academy.
The Dutch Wine Academy. Kind of like the WSET, that's more global, but in a slightly more specific language.
Yes, definitely.
You can't do it unless you speak Dutch. And then you are also a sommelier as well, helping assist the public with their wonderful wine choices. So
true.
We'll ask some questions about certainly Amsterdam in a little bit, because I'm intrigued to know where I need to go and what I need to do. But first of all, most importantly, Miss Wine Spice Girl.
Yes.
For those that will go onto your Instagram page, there is many pictures of you in a bath full of grapes.
True. Oh, yes.
How did that how long did that take you to do? Why did you come up with that?
I'll tell the story. So I invented this Wine Spice Girl. I had it all in my head, but I was like, I have to come out with something memorable. what is it gonna be? I wanted to sit in a bath of grapes, which was not easy because I don't have a bath like that in my house.
Okay. Now I'm disappointed. Okay, yeah. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, I don't even have a bath because Amsterdam houses are really small.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go look for a nice hotel room with a bath in the middle of the room. And there had to be enough light. It had to be, many
things. Of course.
So I found it. I wrote them, can I please do this shoot? This and that. Okay. So then I was like, shit, how am I going to fill a whole bath with grapes? Because it's insanely, you need so many grapes. Then I was very brilliant, even if I say so. But,
go for it. I think you will.
I thought, you know what? There exists something called Photoshop. So this is the secret, is behind the scenes.
Oh no, are you ruining it? It's not a whole tub filled with grapes.
I bought a lot of grapes.
Okay.
And I bought a lot of this plastic transparent foil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, carry on.
All around the bath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, set in there, put the grapes on top of that. And then we did make the photos, but then we just multiplied. Like I hired a girl that's good with Photoshop and she multiplied the grapes to fill it up, let's say. So it's a bit of a secret. I've never told anyone. So you have the
disclaimer. Listen, we don't need to remember that. You are sat luxuriously in a bath full of grapes.
Definitely.
And then the other question that you probably know that I'm going to ask is why you love to pour wine all down yourself. I mean, do you not want to just drink it? It's very wasteful, India.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, the thing is, that was the same thing. I'm like, how am I going to be memorable? How am I going to stand out? Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to pour a bottle of red wine all over my head. And I was like, because I can,
This is true. I hope it wasn't expensive. It wasn't expensive, was it? Let's not.
No.
Don't go crazy.
I definitely don't use any expensive wines, or mostly something that I just have to throw away anyway.
Good old cooking
too
wine.
Long or whatever. Yeah, I just throw it all over myself. It's about the feeling and the color and the getting all soaked in wine.
Well, I highly advise on the red wine because with all the tannins, the resveratrol, all the health components, when you go to certain wine spas, you bath in red wine. It's supposed to be very good for the skin. So
really?
So I wonder if that helped.
Know that.
There you go. I assume from that wonderful advice I've just given that I should expect more red wine pouring videos, right? So you can replenish the nutrients in your hair and your skin.
Definitely. I have to buy find some old clothes though, because that's the only problem every time.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes. Or just wear black, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's what I usually do.
Well, anyway, I know that you've actually got beautiful Italian background, but you grew up in the Netherlands. Yes. You've always been interested in wine, which as a half Italian, that's part of the rules. It goes without saying, right? Mm-hmm. So when did you have your first glass of wine from Holland, a Dutch wine?
I think that might have been maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
During my studies, because we had to study all the wine countries. We did tasting. So we did taste a couple of wines from the Netherlands. Okay. Before that, I actually never tried them because it's not even in the Netherlands, it's very popular. If you go to a wine bar, maybe nowadays they have 1 or 2 wines on the list. But it's not something you find everywhere. We're more into the French wines.
Okay.
Definitely taste a couple. Yeah, the first was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
So just like I speak as an English girl, the English wine revolution is getting huge now. And it's something that probably in the last 10 years has been building and building. Before that, not so much. Do you think that's happening in the Netherlands? Do you think that it can happen in the Netherlands? Are there some top producers that actually are world class that we don't know about?
Yes, I do think it can happen. It's not happening yet, as in, like the English wine revolution, I can really see it. You have now the English Wine Week. I see many people post about English wines. In the Netherlands, I think it's upcoming, but it's not yet a real revolution. I do think in the future it could happen because there are some really nice producers like the Apostelhoeve.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you so Apostelhoeve.
Apostelhoeve.
Apostelhoeve. And by the way, I will mention a little bit later on for English people listening, you can actually get this in the UK. But this is, so this is probably considered the top winery, if there was one, or just the most historic. What do you think?
Well, it's certainly very historic, but I also think it's super famous. I'm not sure if it's the most famous, but at the moment I do think it's very popular because they have a really good wine. The cuvée is very good, but you also have, for example, the Kleine Schorre, which is a bit smaller. It's in the south. Kleine Schorre with double R.
Okay, Kleine Schorre.
Yeah, Schorre, which is really, really cool. I'm going to visit them next week, actually.
Okay.
So they also make lovely wines, and there's many more. You have Saint Martinus. Yeah.
What I've had a look to see what is in the UK. We've got there's the online retailer is called Wine Buyers, and the wines are actually coming from the Netherlands. It's by a wine supplier called Grand Cru. I imagine. And they are sending their wines to the UK for £9.99 delivery, which is absolutely fantastic because that's basically what you would pay online for the UK delivery. So they've got the Apostelhoeve Domein Holset. Holset?
Holset, yes.
Yeah,
yes, also a good one.
Okay, and also Kleine Schorre.
Yeah, this is the one I said. Yeah, the Kleine Schorre. Yeah.
Oh, it's
yeah. I understand when you read it, probably you don't link it, but it's,
I'm glad
it's the one in Zeeland, in the south of the Netherlands, and I'm going to visit them next week, so I'm very, very excited to see how they do it. But they have actually pretty good wines.
Now, in terms of the regions, am I right in thinking, is it Limburg? That is the main region where the top wines are coming out of at the moment. Limburg?
Yes, more or less, let's say. There are some other regions, like also Zeeland, which is more from Limburg. It's all in the south. It's more on the right. Zeeland is more on the left side, on the coast side. So there also, they make a lot of great wines. That's where the Kleine Schorre is. But yes, let's say Limburg, the big city called Maastricht, that region is the most famous because it's the most southern. They make wine for a longer period of time because obviously you need a bit of higher temperatures, which in the north of the Netherlands is a bit more difficult. Yeah.
Well, I think we know about that in England. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, interesting. I had a quick look at the grape varieties. And you grow Chardonnay. You grow Bacchus, which is becoming our still grape variety. And there's
really?
And there's Riesling and Pinot Blanc and Pinot Gris. But then again, you also have Rondo and Regent and Dornfelder, Portuguesa.
Yes.
These are kind of grape varieties as well that we are growing in England, which is no surprise, really, is it?
No,
the cool climate.
Do you call them also the hybrid varieties?
Yes, hybrid German varieties, right? It's,
yes.
Germany's done a good job in creating basically anything that's disease resistant or ripens earlier has been created for places like, I guess, Holland, Belgium, England, right?
Definitely. We all have the same, let's say, shitty weather.
You could say that. Say that.
Because here we use the Solaris, Johanna Tur, these hybrids.
What do you think is the most popular or the top white and the top red then in the Netherlands?
The grapes, you mean?
Yeah, the grapes.
They use a lot of these hybrids that are Solaris is a white grape, Johanna Tur also, and what you said, the Regent.
Yes. Sorry, yeah.
We use
good
it
old
a
English
lot.
accent. Yeah.
But what you said, also the Dornfelder, Cabernet Cortis.
Cortese, like Italian?
Yes.
Oh, okay, the Italian grape.
Yes.
Okay.
Cabernet Cortis.
Oh.
I think it's also, I'm not sure if it's a hybrid, but they do use it a lot.
So the hybrid, you're looking up, so it's the hybrid that is called Cabernet Cortese.
Yes.
Actually, now that's interesting because I literally was talking yesterday on my Instagram about Cabernet Noir, which is a hybrid that's really, again, it's kind of in Belgium, Netherlands, you'll have some there, UK, and it's Cabernet Sauvignon crossed with undisclosed grape variety. How very, very frustrating. They won't say what it is. But this was created in Switzerland. So I was literally talking about that just yesterday. So it wouldn't surprise me that they are doing these hybrids of Cabernet Sauvignon with a disease-resistant variety because they want to create...
Yeah, well, I found it now. Cabernet Cortis is a blue grape, and it's a crossing of Cabernet Sauvignon and Solaris.
Cabernet Sauvignon with Solaris.
Yes.
So is it? So that's a red with a white. So what colour is this? Is it a red? I presume this is a red grape variety.
Yeah, I thought so. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I.
One could only assume.
Yeah. It's blue or yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So so is it now? You said that it's not. In the Netherlands, French wine is the popular go-to. Are you finding now more in the restaurant bars that there is a bottle of Dutch wine that people can sample?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say not always by the glass, because still, it's not super popular. So imagine opening the bottle. Maybe not everyone orders it, so you have to throw it away. You know the problem. But definitely on a nice wine bar or restaurant list, there are definitely one or two bottles just to order by the bottle of Dutch wine.
Would you say in general as a whole that Dutch wine is a bit more expensive? Because I think we have that issue in England that it's kind of scale of economy and the weather. You know, you're never going to be able to compete with, say, the French wines down the Van de Pey, the Languedoc wines kind of in the south of France.
Definitely. I think that's absolutely true because I remember not long ago I bought a bottle of this Apostelhoeve, the one they recommended me to try. They said it's a really good one. And I paid around 15 euros for the bottle, which obviously is perfectly fine. But yes, I think same quality, maybe you could find something cheaper if it's a French bottle.
But, it's about trying these new things. I had a look.
Definitely,
obviously, I know we have some listeners in America and in South Africa. And I know that in terms of, I had a quick look for exports. This is a really interesting example. First of all, most exports from the Netherlands only go to north of Europe or west of Europe. So, sorry for anyone outside of Europe. The chances of you getting any, you're going to just have to come to Amsterdam, which is not a problem, to be honest. No. You're going to have a great time. The exports account, I couldn't find the percentage of exports or the actual number of bottles, but it was around like 200 million euros. Kind of sounds impressive, but when you look at somewhere like Chile exports about 4.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
So that's when you realise how tiny the Netherlands really is in terms of what they're doing. But I have to say, for anybody in England, these bottles of wine that I was talking about, if you go on Wine Buyer's website, about £14.29 I have written down actually
great.
for one of them. So that's, I think, you're not going to have to remortgage to be able to say, hey, let's try some of the top wines. And at least I've already checked with you, our Dutch professional. You've done the work for us that these wines are good and they're worth seeking out, these ones.
Oh, definitely. If you want to try something else, something new, it's super nice to just try one of them.
So let's talk about Amsterdam because it is the capital. For many people, I have been to Amsterdam myself.
Oh, wow.
And everyone, obviously, especially in England, gets very excited because they can legally go and smoke some cannabis.
Yes.
And unfortunately, unfairly, in my opinion, people often think that Amsterdam or the Netherlands that's it. When I went to Amsterdam, the beauty of the quaint houses, the canals on every single street. I remember the pancakes. The pancakes were so good.
Yes,
the pancakes were just delicious for breakfast.
It's very typical. It's very typical. Yes, pancakes is very typical. These houses are very typical. I actually live in one of these houses.
Oh, do you? Do you live anywhere near Anne Frank's house?
Well, it's the same street. That's the Prinsengracht. Yeah,
Are you really on the same street?
Yes, but it's all to the, let's say, to the left, not to the side of the central station, but the other side.
Okay.
Because this is one of the longest streets in Amsterdam. They go all around the city. These, yes. So, but it's the same kind of vibe on the canal. The house is from 1600 something. It's really, really incredible.
The people in Amsterdam, considering I've lived in London for 10 odd years, more than, people are friendly, people are happy. It could be the cannabis, no.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
People are happy, they're friendly, they're welcoming. There's a sense, I mean, I guess as well, that everyone's very liberal. I mean, obviously I can't, but anyone, you do get to go to the red light district. That is something that's really eye-opening and very cool and actually very well ordered. I was absolutely impressed with how it's arranged, very systematic. You've got the Sex Museum, which is just fantastic. It's just for anyone who wants to have a bit of a giggle. Highly advised. But there's something just really liberating and fresh, and grab a bike and cycle along all these flat lands and then get in a little pedal boat and go. It's such a stunning place. So for anyone who hasn't been to Amsterdam, go. So in amongst all of that, is there a big wine culture or not in Amsterdam?
I would say it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's definitely already quite big because, the Dutch people have been always really open to the French culture. So they've always been eating a lot of the French foods because the Dutch don't really have their own food. You have the pancakes, but
you do good bread. I tasted some good bread.
Yes, the bread is amazing.
I really had
bread, but there's not they don't have this
a dish,
this cultural heritage that maybe the French have. So they've always been really attracted to the French food, and therefore also the French wines. The Côte du Rhône has always been very famous back in the days, and nowadays the people are just more open to quality. The wines selection becomes bigger in every restaurant, so I would definitely say there's a big culture for drinking good wines.
And you say obviously French. Are you lucky? Are you getting wines from around the world? Are you getting New Zealand, South Africa, and everything? Yes. Okay.
Yes, so it's becoming more and more popular, especially South Africa is becoming very popular, and the quality also is getting so much better nowadays. So I think you can get your hands on almost any wine here in the Netherlands. Also, the Italian wines have become very popular. Spanish wines, you can find good Riojas, Ribera del Duero. Everything is coming to the Netherlands. Also, the New World, which you said, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. I think in every supermarket you find a lot of these wines also. Very accessible price. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so then where do we go? So apart from coming to your house, if we just start, so we know once we found the Anne Frank Museum, the house, all we need to do is start walking down the road and start shouting, India, India, until we find you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. But if we can't find you, well, we need to go and take a break and get a nice glass of wine. Where do we go? Is there nice wine bars in the centre or good restaurants that you can recommend?
There's many, many, many nice wine bars and restaurants.
What's your favorite?
My favorite, I don't really have a favorite wine bar because I like to hop wine bars. But for example, you have a nice one that is called Shiraz, and they have two different places. I'm not sure how to say. Like
they're shop too. Are they a bar? Are they a bar or a kind of a shop or a hybrid?
It's a bar. It's a bar, and you can have a meal. So they have two different ones. One really in the center, one a bit more in the south. Then you have wine bar Glou, which has all natural wines.
Okay, Glou. Okay.
Yeah, they also have two different ones. One is called Bar Central, where you can also have really nice food, but they have all natural wines. So Vin Nature, it has to be something that you like, obviously. Then there's Wijnbar Paulus, which is a bit more cozy, like as if you're in someone's living room.
Oh, nice.
You have Wijnbar Paskamer, which is also small, cozy. They have good food. I was there last night, actually, sitting on the terrace because it was, I think, 25 degrees until 12 at night. So
oh my
sitting outside, really summer night. Oh, you have so many nice wine bars. I think I'm going to make like a blog post about it.
Fabulous. Well, if that does come up, let me know, and
Yes.
I'll add for everybody listening. I'm going to mention those wine bars in the description of the podcast below, so you can again the wines that we've mentioned, so people, because of course pronunciation, it's so for especially for English speaking people. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So I'll put all that stuff down below so people can see it. And if you do write on your blog, which is winespicegirl.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Let me know. First of all, I'll put that down on the description as well. Hopefully, when people are listening to this, we might see even more wine bars and stuff to go to.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking us on a little journey around the tiny little wines that are the wines in Netherlands. I think it's super exciting. It's fantastic talking to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, one question. I don't know whether you're going to have the answer to this. You're trapped on an island. You know, there's only one style of wine or one wine that you can drink for the rest of your life.
Oh, what a hard question.
I know. I don't know if I could answer it, but...
I happen to love champagne a lot.
Ah, well, that's a good one.
So I would just go, I'd go with champagne, I think, because it's, especially if I'm on an island and it's hot, I already see myself laying there in the water. Yeah,
okay, you're perfect. You're sorted. And of course, then when the fishes come up, you've got a perfect pairing, right?
Yes. yes, that's what I do. Obviously, I love so many other wines, but if I have to choose just one with a gun to my head, I'll say champagne.
No, I appreciate that, because I'm not sure if I could I don't know if I could answer, so thanks for doing that. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. And everyone, go and check out Wine Spice Girl on Instagram, because she's getting spicy.
Hope to see you all.
Oh, yeah, we're going to come. We know where you live now. We are coming.
Yes. I'll be waving outside.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, India.
You.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I really think that was such a great introduction into the wines of the Netherlands. And, as global warming continues to happen, just like it's helped us a lot in England, it is helping them in the Netherlands. If that was quite an interesting conversation and you want to know more and you like to read, a book I discovered that I think is fantastic. It's called Discover Dutch Wine. Interviews, wines, vineyards and restaurants. Now, these are written by two Dutch wine writers, again, with the pronunciation. One's called Marielle Boekes and the other one is Irene de Vet. What's interesting in this book, they actually explain that in 1997, there was about 7 wineries that actually were producing decent quality. And then by 2005, 40. So this is something that's growing. The technology's coming. The understanding is coming. And I think there is a chance that if they get the right backing and promotion and marketing, people will start realizing that there are some very good Dutch wines. Now, what I'm not saying is that every wine in the Netherlands is delicious. I believe that there are certainly a few wineries that are doing wines that quite clearly are really worth trying, but that's not to say that everyone else has caught up. If you are visiting the Netherlands, there are pretty much vineyards in every province now. Down in the far south, on the west, as India mentioned, you have Zeeland, and there's a lot of sun down there, being slightly more southern and on the coast, and they have very old ancient riverbeds, so loads of shells giving you lots of extra minerality to the wine. So I think if you can find wines from Zeeland, I think it's an interesting one to try. We've already touched on Limburg and also Gelderland. These two are the provinces which have the most vineyards planted. And don't expect big, red, heavy, big tannic, oaky wines. These are wines coming from a much cooler climate. This is on the same latitudes as Belgium and Luxembourg and Germany and the north of France. So white wines do well, sparkling does well, and expect these wines with lots of high acidity. Now, I just want to touch on some of the more interesting, lesser known grape varieties that grow there. Of course, Chardonnay grows there, so does Riesling, Pinot Blanc. But there's lots of hybrids from Germany. Now, what a hybrid is, basically, is where you take 2 Vitis vinifera plants. Vitis vinifera is the grapes that we know and love. Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Shiraz. These are all Vitis vinifera. If you cross them, you can create a hybrid. And Germany seems to do really well. They love doing their crossings. So just kind of like in England, we have lots of these German hybrids like Bacchus, which is doing really well in England. That also grows in the Netherlands, along with Solaris, Sauvignon Gris, Cabernet Blanc, Cabernet Cortis. That's what India already mentioned. There's Johanna Tur, Müller-Thurgau. Müller-Thurgau is actually very popular these days in Germany and England and is known quite well around the wine world. I'm going to focus on 3 that I really like, and we're going to talk in a little bit more detail. So Johanna Tur seems to be doing really well in the Netherlands. That is a crossing that Dr. Johann Zimmermann, hence the name, crossed in 1968. It is a crossing of Riesling. So this is from the Riesling family. It's already going to give you a slight idea of flavour profile. Riesling, but then with, oh God, I'm reading this now. There's no chance I will ever remember. Sèvres Villard 12,481 crossed with Brulander, which was also crossed with Gutedel. So sorry about that. There you go. Just some facts if you want to get wine geeky. You're going to find Johanna Tur in Germany, Switzerland, Poland. I've managed to find at least 2 vineyards in the UK with Johanna Tur. This, like all the German crossings, these hybrids are disease resistant, and also they ripen earlier, so it's better for the cooler climates. Okay, so there's less acidity than a Riesling, but with much more sugar content. It is actually susceptible to botrytis, but also black rot. So they have very compact berries, so it can make a sweet wine if tended to correctly. It has higher yields than Riesling, and in terms of flavours, I kind of think of it's like a mix of Pinot Gris with Riesling. It's fruity with a little bit of melon, pear, these peachy flavours. So as it's kind of that Pinot Gris Riesling aromatic style, it's really good with aromatics of like the Thai food, but maybe without the spice. It depends if you've managed to find Johanna Tur that has maybe a little bit of sweetness, then I'd add in a bit more spice. But it'd be great with those kind of sweet and savoury dishes, maybe like some melon with prosciutto, great with Chinese food. And I think this would be quite a versatile, great variety. Have it with shellfish. So have a look out for Johanna Tur if you want to explore something a little bit different. Probably my favourite of the few I'm going to mention is Solaris. I've had a few Solaris. I had a Solaris recently from Poland, which was delicious. I was really impressed. This, again, was created in Germany by Norbert Becker in 1975. Again, disease resistant, good against frost, and ripens early. It is a crossing of, here we go, Mersling with GM 6493, and that itself was a crossing of Zaya, Severa and Muscat O'Tonnell. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Now, flavours, you get things like, it's really perfumed and aromatic, and things like bananas and hazelnuts, quite tropical. The acidity is not so high though. Medium acidity. You can have this as a dessert wine because, again, there's lots of high natural sugar levels, or expect an off-dry style as well. You can find Solaris in Baden, in England, yay, in Belgium, in Switzerland. You can even, apparently, it's growing up in Denmark, Norway and Sweden. So anyone listening from up there, let me know where you can find Solaris. Solaris means sun, so it's ideally it is the sun that grows in these kind of colder areas that we don't have as much sun, so it's quite nice. Imagine with all these kind of the peachy tropical fruits and the kind of fleshy citrusy notes that Solaris brings. With thinking the last time I had a Solaris, the perfect pairing would have been like a tiger prawn tempura with like a mango salsa with some kind of avocado or a little bit of spicy Cajun mayo. This was a dish they used to do in one of my old restaurants. I think it might still be there. Goodman's Steakhouse in London. Check it out. Or it could be really good with some scallops with a little bit of chili and some fresh herbs. These kind of dishes would be perfect with Solaris. And then the last one I'm going to look at is Ossoa. And the reason I'm mentioning Ossoa is this is actually not a German hybrid, but it's very popular in the Netherlands and actually very popular in Alsace. This is a Vitis vinifera plant. Now, it's a very confusing grape variety because it actually has so many synonyms, so a lot of people don't even get to know it. Plus, being so popular in Alsace, in the AOC Alsace laws, you can actually label a wine that is 100% Ossoa as Pinot Blanc, which is super confusing. I do not know how, if anyone happens, I haven't looked into this actually, so I'm not sure why the rules and the legal terms allow that. Just then, to add even more confusion to things, going back to the episode before, if anyone listened to the wines of Argentina, I was telling you that Malbec is called Cot in Cahors. Well, they also sometimes like to call it Osawa as well. So that's a complete different grape variety. So I hope you're following. If anyone wants to know the heritage of Osawa, it's actually basically a sibling of Chardonnay, really, because it was Gouache Blanc, which also made Chardonnay, that mixed with Pinot Noir. So that's the history of Osawa. In terms of flavours, it's like a Pinot Blanc, if anything, but slightly more restrained, a slightly less acidity than a Pinot Blanc, but with more full body. And in terms of flavour profile for Pinot Blanc, it's more of a kind of a neutral grape variety, but it has these kind of citrus, apple, pear note. This can get a little bit more honeyed with age. So it's quite a nice, more neutral style grape variety that is great with just fresh fish, with salads, with soft cheeses. You can play around with this kind of grape variety. So there's 3 grape varieties that maybe you haven't heard of before, or maybe you haven't tried so much, that you can look out for. This Osawa, not only will you find it out in Alsace, you can get it in Luxembourg and you can get it in Germany and places like that as well. Now, coming back to answering the question that I asked you at the beginning of the show, apparently in the Netherlands there are about 180 commercial vineyards, and in terms of hectares we are literally talking 240, which is minuscule. So now you probably know why hardly any of the good stuff is being exported. So next time you're in Amsterdam, please look out for some of those wineries that we've mentioned, because I think if you don't, you're not doing yourself justice as a wine lover. Now, just like last week, I'm going to finish you off with a really nice wine quote by Euripides, the Greek playwright. You've probably heard of this one before. Where there is no wine, there is no love. This needs no explanation. So cheers to you all. Make sure you drink something delicious. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Leave your comments below. And I look forward to us all being together again very soon. Cheers to you.